Please.
All right. We've noticed in our analytics that over 70% of the people that watch our videos do not subscribe. If you could be so kind, hit that subscribe button, then go over to the little bell notification and go up to the top of it and hit all. That way you can get notifications when we post new how-to videos. Thank you very much. Your mounting ring is in. Now, if you wanted to, even though it's sealed here, you could take some extra butyl tape if you have it, and you could kind of fill this here and kind of slope it forward. That's personal preference. You can do that if you want to, but by the time you cover it with dicor, it's not necessary. So if you run out of butyl tape, if you buy the smaller rolls, you can pick them up at any hardware store, home improvement center. You don't have enough to do that, it's not that big of a deal. But if I have extra, I mean, it's sealed, but I will take just a little bit and use it kind of like a molding putty. Again, this is not a how-to, this is how I do it. Just kind of make a little rope of it and give it for a smoother transition. This is the front of the vehicle, so your airflow will be coming across this. Your water pressure while you're driving. You're basically just getting a little forward slope here. This isn't helping to seal anything. This is merely for appearance. As you'll see once we cover this with dicor, the dicor is what's going to seal all this. Alright. Now at this point you're ready for dicor. I myself like to install the fan first. That way I can get the screws in and not get it all over myself. So we'll get this fan on and then we'll get this covered in dicor. Alright. One thing you want to remember whenever you're putting this in, make sure you pull your wires out of here and let them dangle down in the hole first, because once you get this mounted, you can get them out of there, but if they're zip tied, and some of them come with a twisty tie, some of them come with a small zip tie. If it's twisty tied, you can get the wire out, or you can pull it enough that it'll come down through there, no big deal. If it's a zip tie, on the other hand, when you only have 3/8 to a ½ inch gap around here between here and the wood ring, it makes it very difficult. Alright, so in order to get these screws in, you have to open it up. Just gonna get it on the outside of the rings, put it down. Now, this is again personal preference. I like to put these screws in first here because you do not want to push on the fan back here. So if you need to get these, you can raise this front up just a little bit to get that to drop down into the gasket. You don't have to over tighten them. Sometimes you do have to push the little clips. You'll have to slide them down in the plastic tabs. Now that the back two screws are in, you can actually push a little pressure here. Don't get carried away. If you have to push too hard, you need to line it up better first. That's it. Your Max Air fan is now installed. Now, you can cover this whole thing with the entire tube of dicor. You don't have to worry about making it pretty, because what you see now after this dicor levels itself out. And it takes about 3 to 4 hours for it to be waterproof. So if they're hollering for rain in an hour, I would wait. If you do this in the morning, they're hollering rain in the afternoon, you'll be fine. So once you put that on here, I like to put it right on this edge. That way you get about a 50-50 coverage between the plastic ring and the metal roof. Or vinyl roof, or it depends on if you're installing this in an RV or whatever. And then I'll bring it around. I'll completely cover the screw heads. And then I'll come around and in these little valleys, I'll put an extra little bit there, just to make sure it's covered well. Okay, so I'll start right here, and we'll put a nice covering on top of this screw, and then as we bring this down, like I said, I'm not worried about making this look pretty, because if it seals, you know, I'm not worried about it. That's what my main concern is, because if it's in a position where someone can see the roof enough to complain at how ugly or pretty the sealant is, that vehicle has got bigger issues than what the sealant looks like on the fan.
You do the wave in the straight line.
I will also come back after we're done, and I'll wipe all the roof and everything down, get all the handprints, any oil that I may have on my hands and whatever. Now this is the only part that's a complete pain after putting the fan on the dicor, is to get all of this covered up under here. So dicor does not keep well for very long. Once you crack a tip on it, it's designed to harden, rubberize, and seal. So if this is the only project you have for now that you'll need dicor, I would rather put it on here than have to throw a half a tube away. Alright, so let's go down the inside and we'll get the ring started. So now that the fan is installed, we have our wires here for the electric motor. So now we need to drill a hole through your wooden ring. That way you'll have some way to run your wires. And if you know where your power source is going to be coming in, you don't have to drill it as close to these wires. There's enough of them to go all the way around. You can put it anywhere. Just find the best source in order to be able to go. Like for here, if I was going to the front for my electric components, I would bring it over and run it along this rib. This one here, she's not sure, so we're just going to run the wires from here across and down the corner, and then because she's already told me that's where her power source is going to be. So as you can tell, in here where I've got my wooden frame screwed together. So normally I could go in right here, but with the screw, you don't want to drill into that. So I'm going to bring mine out the side and right back to this back channel. And when you're drilling at an angle like this, you want to be sure that you're not forcing on it to where the bit pulls you into the metal and scratches the paint on the bottom side. Doesn't take much. Again, this is personal preference. I'm using 14-2 marine grade wiring. I'm switching over and running this throughout all of the vans for 12 volt and the marine grade electrical. I still use Romex, but if that's all you have, that's perfectly fine. You want to make it as solid as possible. RV industry has been using it for years. Most people that have an issue with the electrical wiring in an RV, it's not the wiring. It's the plug-ins they use are called a pass-through plug-in. It's literally just, it's got a little metal tab that slides on each side of the wire, and it just pinches the wire. So over time, that'll get a little corrosion, and then it won't make good enough contacts in order to work. A lot of times, all you have to do is pull the cover off, pull it out, and take a pair of pliers and push that wire down in there just a little bit farther. It's as good as new. Alright, so let's get some wiring around here. Alright, so we've got our wire ran over here. Since this is RV related, typically white would be your positive, black would be your ground. Not in this application. So if you wire everything up and your fan doesn't work, check your wiring here. So just be sure to check your wiring. When you buy a MaxxAir fan, it even comes with the terminals that you need in order to connect it. You will need a pair of wire strippers to do this. So if you're unsure, put both of your spades on the fan side or on your lead side. That way you can switch them if you need to. I just push them together. That way you don't have to worry about it. It's less stuff to handle. So we're just gonna, after you twist the end here just a little bit so you don't get any stray wires, we just put a good crimp on them. Now, the armchair professionals that we'll get will say use heat shrink. And yes, you most certainly can. And I would highly recommend it. But for the DIY guy that's trying to do this in his driveway that doesn't have them and is worried about getting the right thing, these are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with these. If you do have any issue later on, just make sure you're crimped good. That's the only issue. And now these are a little different. You can pick these up at any home improvement store as well. Like a lot of them that use the little flat crimping area, that's fine. I prefer the area where it does a little inset. That way you get a double crimp. Alright, so we're going to hook our white wire to our ground wire. And then our black, it's even labeled as positive. Pull our wire back. You don't want to leave a lot of wire in here because you still have that ring and this is the only space you have. But you don't want to pull it back so tight that if you or anyone else ever needs to get in there, they don't have any room to play with. So just leave a few inches. You can fold it over. You can stick all your terminals, your connections, your extra wire up in this lip, and then we'll get to the beauty ring. All right. So now this ring here, I see a lot of comments, people that don't know what to do with this. They keep saying their sealing's not that deep. These are easily cut. You can cut these with a heavy pair of kitchen scissors. You can cut this with. If you're very careful, if you lay this on the corner of a workbench with a piece of scrap wood, you can cut this with a carpenter's knife. I do not recommend that method. But if that's all you have, that's fine. You can also use just a standard pair of tin snips. Works great. Then you can use a saw, but if this is cold, whenever you're installing this or trying to cut this down and you use a saw and it catches, this will break. So be very careful. All right, to figure out what you need, just a standard tape measure. And you're going to measure from the bottom to this inside ring right here. So you're on this one, you're right about an inch. So I'll come down here and I will measure from here. There's our inch. I will add an inch. That way, whenever she gets ready to finish her sealing, even if she decides to go with something that's 3/4 of an inch thick, she still has a 1/4 inch on the inside of this inner ring. And that way we don't have to worry, she doesn't have to worry about buying this. You can go 1.5 inches up in here, but if you have it that inch mark, if you're not quite straight with your scissors, then it could be an issue. Alright, so we're just going to go around here and mark this and get a line drawn.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Alright, now that we got our ring cut down, these are the 4 screws that hold your beauty ring on. Be mindful where you drill your hole at for your wire and how you mount your ring. Because if you mount this, if that wire was here and we put that ring this way, you'd shoot a screw right into your wire.
Some say that might be a rather shocking experience. You're welcome. Yes, I can edit that out, right? Will I?
There we go. Just be sure you don't over tighten these because you will blow out this plastic ring. Alright, so now we'll put a piece of coax cover around this, and then we'll zip tie this all to the factory harness, and then we'll leave her a pigtail down here in the corner, a couple foot long. That way whoever does their electrical work has room to play with. So let's get that and we'll get it tested.
Alright, we're rolling.
Alright, I got the wire loom over the wire here, just because it kind of goes through the edge of the metal here. That way, now everything else is zip tied all the way down. With after a plug here, we're getting ready to test this just to make sure it works. I do that on every one of them before they leave. Even if I don't hook them up to the engine, I will still bring a battery pack out and test them. Make sure the wiring is correct. I have had one that the wires were actually soldered into the fan backwards. So that's the only one that I've had like that. But other than that, that's it. I can do one of these in under an hour, but I've done it enough. I know what tools that I have to have in order to get a fan in. You should be able to do this no problem, taking your time in a couple hours. Is it going to be scary for you to punch the first hole in the roof of all places of your van? Probably, if you've never done it before. The inside of your hole needs to be about 14 inch to 14 and a quarter square. Center it up, you'll be good to go. And don't be afraid to watch some YouTube videos to help yourself along the way, particularly this one. And it would much be appreciated if you like, subscribe, if you like more videos like this. It really helps us get up to where we need to be in order to produce more videos. You can give it a thumbs up. Tell all your friends. I appreciate it. There's getting to be a lot more people into the van life, the off-grid, the tiny house movement, school buses. We're talking about possibly doing a school bus raffle. So if you know anybody that's interested in possibly buying one, we're going to do a basic conversion on one and put it up for a raffle to help promote our business, to get out there to actually talk to a lot of you people and give you the information that you need. Don't be afraid to look us up on our website, redscustomdesign.com. Also Facebook, Instagram. You know, the likes, the thumbs up on that really help us out. We are a very small business. We're trying to expand to help more people out. So if you have any questions, feel free to send us a message and share them videos. Thank you.